Hello YouTube, my name is Nero and welcome back to some more Borderlands, the pre-sequel, going over the skill trees of the various Vault Hunters we have. We have Athena and Wilhelm and Nisha and Claptrap. We've done Nisha, we've done Claptrap. Claptrap basically is the healer, the buffer. We've got Nisha, which is just all-out glass cannon, tons of damage. Now we're working on Athena. What role can we give Athena in your party? What class can she be? What role can she fill? And I found one that she does have a lot of buffs. See, over here in the, I don't really know how to pronounce these things, Phlox tree, she's got a bunch of tanking and buffing abilities. Here in Zyphos, I think it is, a lot of her abilities are about gun damage and melee damage, and Snark Storm over here is just a confusing tree, so we're going to avoid that completely. The build that I've got for you guys today is going to be dedicated to making Athena a very tanky class, a lot to be able to take lots of damage, lots of health, similar to what Craig the Psycho was in Borderlands 2. The class is just so hard to take down, as well as like a buffer class, kind of like an off healer in a way. While you got Claptrap being kind of like your main healer with all those different kinds of buffs and stuff he can do, we're going to have Athena here, who's going to be able to get some extra buffs, as well as just be a huge tank that takes tons and tons and tons of damage, as well as can deal some pretty good damage. So let's start up here with Kinetic Aspis, which is going to be her action skill. You use her action skill to raise your Aspis, a shield that absorbs all frontal damage. The Aspis can store a finite amount of absorbed damage as energy based on your level. The Aspis is thrown at the end of your active duration, and when you press if you press your action skill button again. The Aspis creates an explosion upon impact, dealing base damage plus double the stored energy before returning to you, which can be pretty powerful. So we're going to have to get that, of course. And what this is going to do is going to make it so she has a shield that absorbs all damage that goes towards her from the front. And then at the end of her little active effect, she throws it at the enemy, and it's going to do a ton of damage, like double what the damage that they did to you back at them. So that could be pretty helpful. It could definitely be pretty helpful. We're going to be using that shield a lot throughout this build. The first thing we're going to be looking at here is going to be Aphodos. And I don't understand why everything has to be hard to pronounce, but we got Aphodos here, which is going to increase our movement speed and our gun damage while holding our Aspis shield, which we're going to be trying to have the Aspis shield quite a bit. So that's going to make it so when our shield is out, we're going to have 20% faster movement and 20% more gun damage, because you can shoot your gun while you have your shield up, which is pretty nice. Next, we're going down here to hold the line, which is going to lengthen the duration of our Aspis shield. It can be active before it's automatically thrown. So basically, this is going to make it, once we 5 out of 5 that, it's going to make it so our cooldown here, instead of being active for 11 seconds, it's going to be active for 15.5 seconds, which is almost 16, which is almost the length of the cooldown. So that's going to be pretty nice. It's going to increase the time in which we can have our shield out. It's going to absorb a lot more energy. It's going to be able to do a lot more damage as a result of that, as well as keep Athena alive, which is going to be pretty nice. And she has some other abilities that are going to be able to make it so you can taunt all the enemy mobs to go towards you. So while you're able to take all this damage and basically be invincible for quite a little bit, you're going to be able to make it so all of your teammates don't have to take any damage. You take all the damage, but at the same time, you're not taking damage because you have your shield out. Athena is going to be a very good tank character. Next, we're going to go over here to Vanguard. While Aspis is alive, you and your nearby friends gain health regeneration. The health regeneration rate increases as Aspis absorbs damage. So basically, we don't know the exact numbers on this, but basically, the more damage you take to your shield, the more health regeneration you and your friends are going to have, which is kind of like an off-healing spec, which is pretty nice. Next ability we're going to have down here is going to be Prismatic Aegis. God, these things... It seems just hard to pronounce. The Aspis now stores the elemental damage type of absorbed damage. Multiple elemental damage types can be stored, and all stored damage types are dealt by the Aspis when thrown. So basically, the Aspis originally would just take like non-elemental damage, like basically bullets. You know, if people are shooting you up with a bunch of bullets and whatnot, it's going to absorb those bullets, it's going to store this energy, then when you throw it back, it's going to do a bunch of damage to them. Now it's actually going to be able to absorb elemental damage as well. If you're facing a special kind of boss or something like that that's using like an elemental weapon or something like that, it's going to absorb that elemental damage type, and that's actually going to be a part of the damage that gets thrown back at them. So that's going to be pretty helpful, I think. Let's go down here to United Front. Damage absorbed by the Aspis shield now provides power to the shields of you and your nearby friends. Also, increases your maximum shield capacity. So what this is going to do is when you absorb damage, it's going to convert 25% of that absorbed damage into shield power. Now what that means is maybe it's either, I don't know what shield power means, to be perfectly honest. It's either going to make it so it automatically comes back to you and your friends' shields, like your shields are getting low, suddenly 25% of that absorbed damage is going to go back to that. Maybe it's going to increase your shield capacity. I have no idea what shield power means, but it's also going to increase our own shield by 20%, which Athena, of course, is going to try and be the tanky character. So I'm going to try and make her as good of a tank, and that's a pretty good one, as well as it buffs up your friends that you're playing with, so that's going to be pretty nice as well. Next, we're going to go over here to Clear, which, when thrown, the Aspis Explosion grants second wind to friends within range. In addition, you gain the additional damage while in fight for your life, which I'm not a big fan of the extra 40% damage while in fight for my life, because I don't plan on going down that much. I just never really do in Borderlands games. But when you throw your Aspis Shield at the end of your action skill and it explodes on the guy that you're fighting, if you have a down teammate anywhere near that, it's going to instantly revive them, which is going to be pretty nice. Kind of like an off-healer spec. I like it a lot. She's got a lot of pretty good helpful abilities that helps out her teammates, as well as she can take tons upon tons of damage. We got Stalwart here. Allows the Aspis to absorb a percentage of damage from your friend's guns. Now, that could be helpful. That could be helpful if you wanted to really kind of buff up the shield and the damage your shield's going to do when you throw it to take down a certain boss or use it in a certain niche situation. That could be helpful. But the real thing I like here is the fact that it's also going to increase our maximum health by 25%. So that's going to be pretty nice. As well as, now that I think about it, damage absorbed by the Aspis now provides power to the shields of you and your friends. So you and your friends, if you're low on shields, can just shoot at you and shoot at your shield, and it will make it so everyone's shields go up. So that can kind of work in synergy, I guess, with United Front rather well. Return fire here, I'm not a big fan of personally. It makes it so basically it has a chance to reflect incoming lasers and bullets while still absorbing their damage. So just something I'm not a big fan of. It's like, I don't need you to reflect the bullets per se, I just need you to absorb them, and it already does that. So we go over here to Prepare for Glory. Activating the Aspis taunts nearby enemies, making them more likely to attack you. Additionally, for every individual enemy who inflicts damage upon your Aspis shield, you gain a stack of Prepare for Glory, increasing your gun damage. Stacks persist for a short duration after the Aspis has been thrown. So I like that. I like that a whole lot. Basically, it's going to make it so whenever you pull out your shield, whenever you use your action skill, it's going to taunt all the nearby enemies to go towards you and to fight you, which is one of the things I did. You know, if when I was playing Borderlands 2, I was Craig the Psycho. I had a stupid amount of shield and a stupid amount of maximum health. I was a melee-only build, right? So I had just all this health. And so some of my weaker guys, like Foxhound was a Necromancer, some of the little weaker guys like that, I could just, I take all the damage. I don't need him to take any damage because I can take it all. He's kind of like a little glass cannon, kind of like what Nisha is going to be, kind of a glass cannon. Athena's going to be able to taunt people, keep the enemies off of your friends, and they're all going to be going towards you, as well as we get some increased gun damage out of it per person attacking us. So that can be pretty nice. It can be pretty nice. It gives you a little bit of damage. It gives you a little room for your teammates to breathe a little bit. It's a pretty nice skill overall. And the final skill in this skill tree is going to be Wrath of the Goddess. Your Aspis shield will ricochet up to four additional targets, each taking less damage than the last. The Aspis will return to you after it hits the final enemy. It's going to make it so instead of when we throw our shield, instead of it only hitting one person, that can make it so it attacks multiple people, so it can kind of be like a little AoE effect. Could be pretty helpful. We still got 14 skill points to mess around with here, and let's see what we got. So first and foremost, I want Gun Kata over here in the Zyphos skill tree. This is going to increase our gun damage. Additionally, our melee damage is going to be increased for a short duration after shooting an enemy. We 5 out of 5 that. It's going to make it so at all times we have 15% stronger guns, as well as after shooting somebody, if we want to melee them, we can give 50% more melee damage. Speaking of melee damage, just go over here to Clarity of Purpose. Increases melee damage and maximum health. So we're going to have 15% more max health. We're going to have 25% more melee damage, which is nice. And all that melee that we're going to be doing is actually going to be pretty beneficial, especially since we have Rend down here, which is your melee attacks cause enemies to bleed, inflicting damage over time. The damage is increased by the higher health. damage is increased against higher health targets, and the damage also benefits from your melee damage bonuses. So that is pretty freaking nice. You can do lots of extra damage with that. It's a damage over time. You get a big pack of mobs that don't really die that quickly, but you kind of run around. You melee every single one of them. They all start bleeding. That way, they're all doing damage over time. Then you can kind of focus fire on one individual target if you want, but at the same time, you're doing a bunch of damage to a bunch of other people. It's pretty helpful. And now we've only got 3 skill points left to play with. I figure we're gonna add them here to Miracle? I'm bad at pronouncing things today. Mercurial. That is just a weird word. Why is everything here hard to pronounce? But it's a kill skill that when killing an enemy, it increases your movement speed and your damage resistance for a few seconds. So after killing someone, you're going to be moving around 12% faster, and you're going to be 13% more resistance to all forms of damage, which is going to help out with your tank ability. And there's really nothing else we can spend our 3 points on that would really benefit this build more than that. So that is our build for Athena the Gladiator. She's good. She's a tank. She's taking lots of damage. She's got crazy shields. She's got crazy health. She's gonna be doing all kinds of stupid amounts of damage with her shield when she decides to throw that. She's gonna take literally next to no damage because she's gonna have her shield up quite a bit. Even though there is a 16-second cooldown, 16 seconds in Borderlands isn't really that long. You can survive long enough to be able to get that shield back up, and you're gonna be using your shield quite a lot, especially since we have an ability that will make it so we can have our shield up even longer than usual. She's a good build. I like it. She's kind of the tank character. She's also got a bunch of buffs. She can help out with the health regeneration of your teammates. She can help out with the shield regeneration of your teammates, or the shield power, whatever that means. She's got a bunch of cool abilities. Athena's a pretty cool character. One of the ones I'm considering using when the pre-sequel comes out. I'm still completely undecided as to what I want. You got Athena here, who's a tank and kind of like an off healer. You got Nisha, which is like the glass cannon, where she doesn't have a lot of survivability, but she has tons of damage. You've got Claptrap, which can be all about healing, all about buffing, and all about random fun wacky stuff. And then of course we're gonna have Wilhelm, which we're gonna be covering Wilhelm in tomorrow's video and checking him out and showing you guys exactly what the things I have in store for Wilhelm and how I think his class should be played. So hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to leave a rating. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day.